From the nonpartisan Maddy Institute and the California channel at the state capitol, this is a Maddy Policy Brief. Welcome back. I'm Mark Kepler with the Maddy Institute. What about public school districts throughout California? They're adjusting to some pretty major changes in the way K12 education is delivered, assessed, and funded. How are they doing? And what about California's growing shortage of college-educated workers? What will that mean to the state's economy if we can't improve college graduation rates? Our guest is Paul Warren, an expert in education matters with the Public Policy Institute of California. Welcome to the Maddy Report.
Thanks for having me.
So, some pretty significant changes in K12 education in the last few years. Can you explain some of those big changes?
Sure, there's been a lot going on. First, the state adopted new Common Core standards. That's defines what students should know in each class and each subject area. And there were some pretty major changes brought by that. It really changes what teachers do in the classroom every day. Second thing the state did was created the local control funding formula, which funds districts, and it really increased funding for students who are low income or English learner students, those who don't speak English.
It's almost like a block grant. They give the districts money and say, you spend it. Before they used to have a thing called categoricals.
That's right.
Where they would say, here's the money, but here's how you have to spend it. That's not the case anymore.
That's right. So schools have a lot more leeway in figuring out how they want to address problems at the local level. It also came along with the new accountability system, which we used to have accountability just based on test scores. Now it's based on 5 or 6 different measures, including graduation rates, attendance, and those kinds of things.
How is this impacting scores? Has it had a positive impact in improving scores by California students?
So we've only had 2 years of testing with the new standards, but scores did go up quite a bit in 2016, that is last spring. And it's certainly an indication that Common Core implementation is moving along well. But it's too early to know about some of these other reforms.
Okay, so like say local control funding formula, I think you said it's a little uneven the way that's been rolled out in terms of local control funding formula. What districts are doing with their LCAPs is something called a local control and accountability plan. Some districts taking it very seriously, others not so much.
Yes, that's right. They're very complicated documents, and not all schools really know how to use these to maximum benefit. And so some districts are doing a really bang-up job with them, and some are still really trying to figure it out.
Okay, so what about the financial picture of K12 education? Gotten better?
It's gotten much better with the recession being over and the state climbing out and tax revenues.
So we're done, right?
Well, there's still a couple of challenges. We just issued a report on special ed and found that funding for special ed hasn't increased much over the last few years, while the number of children with very severe, expensive disabilities has gone up quite a bit. So there's a need for more money there. Also, I think just in general, Californians believe that schools are underfunded.
What do you think needs to be done overall to make sure that California's children are really prepared for the future when it comes to K12 education?
Well, so there's a few things. One is funding. Another is making sure that schools and districts get the help they need in improving the classes for kids, and particularly for low-income and the English learner kids. Those are our future. Low-income students represent about 60% of all students in the state. And if those students aren't learning and achieving at high levels, then we have a problem.
Well, I think improving education is like the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if you work on that, focus on that weakest link, then you can improve education overall. Let me switch gears a little bit and talk for about a minute or so about higher education. It's reported that California is woefully short of the number of college grads it's going to need in the next 10 to 20 years. What's going on there?
Yeah, we published a report that looks at that issue, and we found that the state will need more than 1 million students by 2030, more than what we think they'll actually produce.
Okay.
And what's underlying that are 2 things. One is that the baby boomer generation is retiring, like me.
Yeah, we're all highly educated, right?
Well, actually, our group is more educated than in the past, and so you have to replace us in the market. Right. The second thing is that the kids who are coming up through high school now aren't graduating from college at the same rates, and part of that has to do with not being prepared for college when they come out of high school, and others just struggle to get through the 4 years.
Yeah, the 4 years used to be a thing for you and I that was pretty common, but now it's 6 years or even longer.
Yes.
So what can be done to improve the situation in terms of higher education?
Well, making sure that students are prepared for college, that is, they have the math and the English skills they need to be successful in college is one thing, and our LCFF looks at those kinds of data in terms of assessing schools and districts. Another thing is that the colleges themselves can do a better job of figuring out how to take kids who maybe not are real strong in one of those areas and helping them boost their skills and then move on and actually go on to
I think everyone will benefit. Investing in education is probably a pretty good idea. Thank you for that conversation. For a more in-depth analysis of this and other public policy issues important to Californians, please log on to our website at maddyinstitute.org and click on the Policy Analysis tab.